The FNaF movie is peak, and I don't care what anybody says. I watched the FNaF movie a couple days ago with my brother, my sister, and my sister's best friend. If you guys didn't know, I got into FNaF back in 6th grade around late 2018 or early 2019, and I got into it because my friend got me into it. I'm still friends with that same guy, and he was originally going to come see the movie with us, but unfortunately he couldn't make it. So, because it's FNaF, even before I saw the movie and even before I knew whether it would be good or not, I decided that I'd go see it again the very next day with him and some other friends. But I have to tell you, while I loved the movie almost as much the second time, there has never been a time in my life that I felt the way I did when watching the movie for the first time. It's not the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life, it's second because Marvel Spider-Man 2 exists, but it was the greatest individual 2 hours I've ever experienced. There's no doubt in my mind that the greatest part of this movie was seeing it in theaters. I don't know about you guys, but my theater was filled with FNaF fans, and you could tell. Not only did I spot someone with a t-shirt that said "I always come back" on it, and not only did I see a bunch of girls with FNaF masks on their heads, but the audience reaction when watching the movie at 7:30 p.m. on October 27th, 2023 was mind-blowing. You could tell how many people in that theater love FNaF. In the first half of the movie, anytime an animatronic appeared at all, you could hear the reaction of the audience as shocked, scared, or excited, or all of those. The entire time the movie played, I was shaking in my seat and I had the biggest smile on my face. I think my brother was probably genuinely concerned. Keep in mind, of the 4 of us that went to see it for the first time, I was the only one that was actually a fan of FNaF, and the other 3 actually liked the movie a lot too. Both my brother and sister said 4 out of 5 stars, and my sister's friend said it was really good as well, but the audience's receptiveness enhanced the experience so much. When we saw Matt Pat working at Sparky's, my audience literally cheered. When Matt said it's just a theory, they continued to cheer. When Corey X Kenshin showed up, even though it was in the trailer, everyone cheered. When all 4 of the criminals died, people were shocked, scared, and/or excited. When Max died, there was such an audible reaction, and there was even one guy towards the front of the theater that said, "Was that the bite of 87?" It didn't even take away from anything. You'd think it would have been cringe, but it was genuinely funny. And I turned to my brother and we both laughed our asses off. Also, like 5 minutes after Matt Pat showed up, I still couldn't get over it, and I turned to my brother and whispered, "F***ing Matt Pat," and we both laughed all over again. It's not that it was funny that he was there, it was just that it was so amazing to see him. Moving ahead towards the end of the movie though, when Vanessa started talking about Afton, her saying the name William Afton caused the theater to gasp pretty loudly, but then when she said that he was her father, they gasped even louder. I appreciate that the movie decided to change a few things and throw in curveballs like that, rather than just getting everyone to expect everything. But then, William Afton in the Spring Bonnie suit appeared, and you guys have no idea what this reaction was like. It was like Andrew Garfield showing up in No Way Home all over again. The theater was so excited, and Matthew Lillard's performance was fantastic. It was slightly goofy, but let's be real, it's William Afton. The only thing I think could have been improved in this movie is just that I think Afton's whole thing could have been executed a little bit better. He wasn't in the movie for very long, but for what he was in it for, he did a great job. I liked the way he delivered his lines in a pretty maniacal Stu Macher-esque way, and I think that his facial expressions were also great. He definitely pulled off a great William Afton, and I think he was definitely the right choice to play him. But I just feel like it was too short-lived. Afton was only there for a few minutes, and while that was probably the best part of the movie, it just didn't last quite long enough. But then he got spring-locked, and I just love that they actually did that. He delivered his iconic "I always come back" line, which some people don't think makes sense in the context of the movie, which I can see, but I do like that they included it. Afton being spring-locked was handled well in general, with the way that we saw the pieces snap into him and stuff, but I do feel like it would have made more sense for him to bleed a lot more and maybe yell and scream a bit. But I do love that they made him twitch just like he did in the FNaF 3 minigames, and then he got locked away by the Golden Freddy kid. I love all the references and connections and Easter eggs in the movie, and as a FNaF fan myself, I just appreciated all of it. The ending of the movie was a little bit rushed, but not to the point where it was jarring, and I could look past it. But then when the movie ended, the entire theater cheered. And to top it all off, they played the Living Tombstone song. That wasn't surprising or anything to me, but it was just so cool to hear that at the end of the movie, and both times I saw it in theaters, I chilled with who I was sitting beside, in one case my brother and the other my friend, and we just sat there singing along quietly to the song. Coincidentally, a girl I went to elementary school and now high school with was watching the movie on the same day in the same theater at the same time and happened to be sitting next to me, and I hadn't really talked to her in years, and last time I did, I looked way different, so I'm surprised she even recognized me and remembered my name, but I asked her if she liked the movie, and she did. Almost all the people I know who have watched the movie have liked it, and yeah, most people agree that there are some flaws, but most people I know would still give it a high rating. And that's whether they're FNaF fans or not. My whole theater experience with the FNaF movie, at least the first time, was by far the best part of it for me, But now let's talk a bit about the rest of the movie outside of just that. I've heard a lot of people say that the plot of this movie is really complicated, but I don't really think it is. Sure, there's some mysteries for theorists to ponder, but for an average viewer, it's not really too complicated. The story is simply that Afton killed kids and stuffed them into the suits, the kids possess them, and Afton manipulates them. Mike's brother was also killed by William, and Vanessa is Afton's daughter. That's literally the whole plot, and while that's obviously a very strange plot to an outsider, I don't see it as difficult to understand at all. Other people are upset that the animatronics aren't really the villains, but that's essentially the point. They've never really been the actual villains in the games, even if they were the antagonists. The real villain has always been William Afton, and even if you don't have the knowledge of that from the games or the books, the movie does hammer that point home anyway. I also don't have a problem with them showing the animatronics as super cuddly and fun. Some people don't like that because it makes them less scary, but I honestly think it's the opposite. Showing these machines as nice, fun animal robots, and then having them go rogue, honestly makes them more effective. The whole point of the animatronics is that they're cute to kids, but kind of creepy to adults, and they like kids because they are kids, but they don't really like adults. The movie emphasizes that perfectly, showing Mike being genuinely unsettled by the animatronics, like when Freddy got close to him, and he was creeped out by him, and even after the animatronics were shown to be nice, Mike was still scared of them and wanted Abby away from them. It's also really cool that the animatronics were sort of glaring at Mike, which makes sense because, as I said, the animatronics don't really like adults, and Mike basically later says that the animatronics don't like him. The movie is also fairly comedic, and I don't think that the comedy was out of place. It fit well with where it was placed, like with Balloon Boy and that drugstore scene, and Doug. Oh, how we love Doug. I think the movie was funny enough that it was entertaining humor, but not so funny that it made the movie into a comedy instead of a horror movie. The acting is also consistently good, especially with Matthew Lillard, as I said, and also Josh Hutcherson. Piper Rubio also does a great job as Abby, especially for her age. There's maybe one or two lines that I think could have been delivered a bit better, but for the most part she did a really good job. Grant Feely also did a great job in his role as the Golden Freddy kid, especially for his age. Also, Abby hugging Freddy is something I didn't know I needed in my life, but I'm glad I got it. Same goes for Bonnie falling and then giving a thumbs up. And none of that is even mentioning the animatronics and the sets, which are impeccable. I do understand that the movie isn't as enjoyable if you aren't a FNaF fan, but that also doesn't mean you can't like it. My brother and sister aren't FNaF fans, but they both gave it 4 out of 5 stars. My friends that I went with on Saturday also liked it, and their knowledge of FNaF spanned from being a fan to knowing nothing. The only one of the 5 of us who knew pretty much nothing about FNaF also gave it an 8 out of 10. He was also terrified by it, which we all found pretty funny. He's just not great with horror in general. The FNaF movie honestly isn't very scary, especially for me since I've played all the FNaF games and rarely get started by the jump scares anymore, except sometimes in FNaF 4 and FNaF VR, but I do think overall the movie does do a good job at pleasing fans, and it makes you care about the characters pretty well. My friend, the one who was scared the whole time, was actually really concerned that something was gonna happen to Abby. I feel like people are also just misunderstanding the FNaF movie. There seems to be a lot of people who straight up don't understand what FNaF is about. I've seen reviews of people saying stuff like, I'm not a fan of FNaF, but people will probably be disappointed to see family drama instead of focusing on the animatronics. We're not here for the movie to sideline the fan favorite animatronics for the human characters. But that's not really true. If you think FNaF isn't about family drama and human characters, and if you don't think the human characters are fan favorites, then you simply don't know the story of it. That doesn't mean you have to like the movie, it doesn't mean you have to know the story of FNaF to enjoy it, and it also doesn't mean you have to think the movie is good at all. But just because there's a family and human element doesn't mean it's not accurate. It's quite the opposite. FNaF quite literally is a story about family drama, so that being present in the movie definitely isn't one of the issues with it. I think people who aren't fans of FNaF misinterpreted the movie as being all about the murder robots based on the trailers, which I can understand how it could have been misinterpreted as that, but I just feel like if you're not a FNaF fan, this movie isn't really something you would have been waiting for or really wanting to see, and if you were, then I don't really know how much you would like this movie. I've said this a few times to my friends, but I don't think it's physically possible for me to judge the movie as anything other than a FNaF movie. I cannot judge this movie as a regular movie. I can only judge it as a FNaF movie, and I think in that regard, it succeeds greatly. But is it a good movie? I honestly have no idea. I'm not the right person to ask if it's a great movie because there's no possible way for me to think of it like that. I can only consider it as a great FNaF movie, and in my opinion, it was definitely worth the wait. But what did you guys think? Did you guys like the FNaF movie? Let me know in the comments, and also let me know if you're a FNaF fan or if you just watched the movie for fun. It'll be cool to see what thoughts you guys have on the movie, and overall, I just hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you want to. I have a few more FNaF movie-based videos coming up, including a video on theories and Easter eggs, and also a video comparing my FNaF movie prediction from a month and a half ago to the actual movie we got, seeing what I got right and seeing what I got wrong. Now with the FNaF movie out of the way, outside of the FNaF movie novel and the 4th Phasma Frights graphic novel, the last FNaF project to be excited for this year is Help Wanted 2, so let's hope that when it comes out, it ends up being great. But that's everything for this video, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye guys!